understand something, the more simply I can explain it. This is true of intuition, it's true of all the patterns in my life, and it's actually part of science as well. In science, they call it a principle called Occams Razor, which simply put means the closer you are to the truth, the less you have to assume in order for that to be able to be understood. There was a famous point in history where just before, when they still thought the earth was at the centre of everything, they had to make things very, very complicated in order to actually make what they were observing of the planet's movements fit the whole idea that the earth was at the centre. When they got closer to the truth and understood that the sun was at the centre, things got a lot more simple. Let me show you what I mean. So here we have a normal orbit, just a normal circular orbit, what they actually thought was going on with the earth here in the centre. And so, however, the more that they were able to observe what's going on, the more that they realised that the planets weren't moving around the earth in very simple circles. So they came up with the idea of epicycles, which is just like the pen going around in a little circle while it's going around the big circle. And you can see that it ends up tracing out a very complicated kind of movement, which worked for a little while, but then of course observations got better and better, and also they needed different sizes of epicycles, and actually with some of them they needed epicycle on top of epicycle. So with some of them, you know, they got very complicated. So when they had to account for all the different orbits of all the different planets. Okay. So you can see how complicated that starts to get just because you wanted to have the Earth in the middle. So when they actually were able to change that, and they were able to just go, well, what if you just had the sun here in the middle? So then all you would have is one, oh, in there, right. All you would have is one sort of force of attraction, and the planets would go around. Now, that worked for a while, but once again, you know, telescopes were getting better and better. So they realised actually that it wasn't enough just to have the sun there, because there was another force involved, which was the speed of the planets themselves, or the inertia of the planet. So what that does is that gives you two forces. So you've got the sun and the momentum or the speed of the planet itself. And so, but when they accounted for that, they realised, well, okay, it still is a simple shape, it's just an ellipse. So that's one of the other interesting things about the truth, is that not only when we learn the truth do we realise how simple it is, but because of course this is a lot more simple than this. I mean, which would you rather calculate? Would you rather try and calculate that, or would you rather try and calculate that? I think the answer is pretty obvious. But see, the thing is that even when they were able to perceive things a little bit more, see, the answer was still simple, because that's one of the other things about the truth. Not only is it more simple and elegant, if you prefer, but it's also a lot more robust, so that simplicity isn't lost even when you learn more. You might see it a little bit more clearly, but you still maintain that same simple, elegant simplicity. So So this principle that the truth is always simple is very important. It's so important that you have an inbuilt mechanism to support you in figuring out the simple truths that work for you. And that's part of the work that in fractology we call the soul seat work. And the important thing though, the important takeaway from all of this is that the closer that you get to the truth, the simpler things become, the easier it is for you to focus on what you need to focus on. And the further away you're getting from the truth, the more complex and complicated things are getting. In a fractal you can see that, because a fractal can look very complex on the surface, but underneath there's this incredible simplicity, because it's just the one pattern repeated over and over again. And it's that simplicity that in our lives, it just supports our life to be so much more elegant, easy, graceful. And of course, the easier and more graceful our path in life is, the better everything just works for us.